Perseverance is defined in the Merriam-Webster Dictionary of 2019 as a continued effort to do or achieve something despite difficulties, failure, or opposition. When I hear this, one important historical figure came to mind. This figure has displayed perseverance and has contributed to many causes bigger than herself. That woman is Rosa Parks. Today, I'm going to show you how Rosa Parks displayed perseverance. We hear about perseverance all the time, mostly associated with sports. However, perseverance is a value that applies to all types of people. It is important that we understand the true characteristics of this perseverance so we can apply it more to our lives. After extensive research into the life of Rosa Parks, I have chosen a few significant anecdotes from her life that will best represent the display of perseverance in her lifetime. Today, I will be presenting 3 anecdotes from the life of Rosa Parks and will be describing how they display perseverance. The first is about how she refused to give up her seat on a bus. The second is about how she threatened a boy with a brick. And the third is how she was beaten and robbed in her own home. Rosa Parks displayed a lot of perseverance in her lifetime. She remained true to her core beliefs and always stood up for what she believed in, even when the circumstances weren't the best. One example of how Rosa Parks displayed perseverance was when she refused to give up her bus seat. As told by U.S. History 2019, the year was 1955 and Rosa Parks was on her way home from work when she decided to take the bus. She was sitting up in the 5th row, which was the first row of the colored-only section. However, at the next stop, more white people got on and there was no longer room for them in the whites-only section, which was pretty much the front of the bus. Moreover, 3 of the African Americans around Rosa Parks got up to allow the white folks to sit. However, Parks didn't budge. The driver turned around and shouted, "Are you going to stand up?" And Parks looked up and said, "No," as she stared the driver in the eyes. The driver continued to yell, but Parks refused to move. Finally, the driver said, "Well, I'm going to have you arrested," and Parks continued to sit still and simply replied, "You may do that." Because Parks refused to move, the bus stayed where it was and the bus driver continued to call the police. Parks was then arrested and fined. Parks refused to move because she was in the section of the bus that was restricted to her, and she was tired of being told what she could and couldn't do. Because she held her ground and was determined to achieve equality for all African Americans, she displayed a great deal of perseverance. While many people know this common story about the life of Rosa Parks, very few know about her life before the bus. When Parks was younger, her frustration between white people and African Americans began to emerge. She got most of her anger from her grandmother, who had been experiencing this racial tension for most of her life. According to Jean Theo Harris from the Washington Post 2019, it was a normal day at school for Parks, and her grandmother had already warned her to be careful running around on the playground. Her grandmother was always concerned with her running around and talking biggity to white folks. Well, on this particular day, a white bully chose Parks as his victim, and he began to taunt her. All of a sudden, Parks picked up a brick and threatened to hurt him badly with the brick. After all that commotion, the bully decided to leave her alone, and when Parks went back to tell her grandmother about her day, her grandmother was angry. Rosa simply told her grandmother, "I would rather be lynched than live to be mistreated and not be allowed to say I don't like it." This determination to make a difference in the way that society viewed African Americans at such a young age and continuing into adulthood shows how committed to the cause Parks was, and is another example of how she displays perseverance in her lifetime. The final example demonstrates how Rosa Parks continued to display a great deal of perseverance later on in her lifetime. Parks was 81 years old when she was admitted into the Detroit Receiving Hospital with facial injuries and swelling on the right side of her face. Parks had been making a visit back to Montgomery for the 30th anniversary of her bus seat battle. According to the New York Times, on August 31st, 1994, Parks had been upstairs in her apartment when she heard a noise between 8 and 8:20 in the evening. When she climbed out of bed to investigate, she found a man downstairs, waiting for her. The man proceeded to attack Parks, steal $50, and leave. Parks was able to call for help and have police officers help her get to the hospital and get the help she needed. While most people would have just given up, Parks continued to fight for herself and get what she needed, even though she wasn't in the most ideal situation. This is why Parks is such a good example of someone who demonstrates perseverance. She always stayed true to what she believed in, and she didn't fold when her values were tested. Perseverance is about continuing to push for what you believe in and continuing to work hard for your beliefs. This was expressed throughout many points in Rosa Parks' life, from the bus ride to later in her life when she was attacked in her own home. Because of the way that Parks carried herself throughout her lifetime, she is a historical figure that comes to mind when I think of the word and value perseverance. So the next time you see the word perseverance, think Rosa Parks.